Hey guys, welcome to our first webinar in a long time. I feel like quite a long time, but we have launched a really incredible, very special to me, important feature that I want to share with the masses, shout from the rooftops, and give you guys all the information about Qualiphy, which is an amazing integration partner for us that we've just brought on about a month ago. We've been talking about it for a long time, but about a month ago it went live, and it's really an option for you to stay compliant, have all the legal things that you need around GFEs, do it in a very easy, seamless manner that's very cost effective, and really fill in a lot of gaps in your practice. And so I'm not the expert. I'm the expert maybe on the AR side of it, but I brought the expert on today with us. We have with us Noah Bobot, who is from Qualiphy. I hope I said your last name right, Noah. He is the manager of that business, the guru, the brains behind all of it, has been integral in us getting this integration done, and was part of our GFE panel at Tech Next a few weeks ago, and really knows what he's doing and knows how to make this thing work. And so we're going to have him go through today all the Qualiphy components, but then also we'll kind of turn it over to me and I'll go through some of the AR components. But Noah, give us all your goods on Qualiphy, and welcome to our webinar, by the way.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate all the nice things you just said, and I'm really excited about this, and I'm really happy with the success that we've seen thus far with the aesthetic record integration. Yeah, exactly as Tiffany said, Qualiphy is a compliance-based virtual good faith exam platform meant to provide medical spas with the clearance they need in order to perform good faith exams safely and efficiently while maintaining compliance. The entire purpose of Qualiphy is instant and on demand. So what we're trying to do and what we've been successfully doing thus far is instantly connecting pretty much no wait times at all to a provider that can immediately clear you or deny the patient based off of medical history. And without further ado, I'll just jump right into it and share some of the features and the qualities of what Qualiphy can do for you.
Yeah, hold on, before you go, I'm going to say one quick thing. For those who are watching right now, just because I think it's important to know, we have, I don't know, Noah, do we have 10 states live in our system today? Maybe it's close to 10. We have more coming on board. You guys are available to do this in many, many states, but for those who are watching who are like, it's not in my system yet, I don't have my state approved, what Noah's team is really focusing on is making sure that what he just said, that when a patient comes through and the GFE is requested, that they get almost instant access. And so as we sort of help him to staff up in these different states, we don't want you to have any lag time, any wait time, or as little as we possibly can. So if you're like, my state's not here yet, just hang tight. It is coming. He's working diligently on getting every state that we can approved and inside of AR. So as he goes through the feature set, if it's not for you yet, just hang tight. It will be. So pay attention because it could be coming soon, hopefully even next week or week after. So now carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I forgot to mention we should be live in about 40 states within the next 2 weeks, and hopefully getting all 50 or 51 rather for licenses. So I will just dive right into it. So essentially, within the Qualify portal, you have a couple different options. If you have multiple locations, you can add different locations in that your admin or your medical director will be able to view and manage. You can have multiple locations or, for mobile clinics or just actual med spas. Um, Once you add a location, you can also have different managers that will be able to then manage the entire clinic. Adding managers is very simple. You just hit add manager, you add the information, and you select the clinic that you'd like them to be a part of. And voila, they're connected. Each location can have its own billing cycle. So for those of you who have either franchises or different providers that are running their business, they can actually have a different billing cycle. Next, I will dive right into the results section. Here you'll see the patient's name, the good faith evaluation that they requested, the status of it, and the PDF with the results, the date, and all of the questions and medical history that the patient provided to our provider. The cool thing about Qualiphy is as some medical directors may have different either procedure types or different questions that they have or would like to intake, they have the ability to actually customize a completely customizable evaluation so that you can actually either merge two different types of evaluations together For example, you can do dermal filler and neuromodulator together, or a microneedling with another different type of procedure. And it's very simple. It's just simply, adding the title of the evaluation. I'm just going to go, with Botox plus, you know, um, let's go with filler. And so you would be able to ask, your medical director would be able to customize the questions. Additionally, if your medical director does additional questions that you would like to add on top of ours, you can do so. It's very, very simple. Are you currently pregnant? We see a lot of this for different types of procedures that maybe we don't offer, and the uh, the um, the medical director will then create the evaluation for the medical spa for our providers to be able to ask those questions and give the clearance. Once an evaluation is created, you can actually add notes to the question that will either give the reason why we're asking the question, so your patients may know, or any exceptions or caveats. So I'm just going to give an example here. If the patient is in the first trimester, please do not approve for procedure procedure A. Once you've created an evaluation, it will always be in your portal. Anytime you decide to send out an evaluation, it will be here. So it's just as simple as that. You can select this one, as well as over 70 different procedures that we select. But I'll let Tiffany dive into the actual sending of the evaluation after this demo. And finally, your API key can be found here, which is what we use to merge the aesthetic record and Qualiphy portals so that they can communicate with each other, and all of the results, as well as the sending of the evaluation, can all be done within your Qualiphy portal.
But Noah, as you're looking through these exams and like customizing things, I want to really touch on that. I think it's a huge part of this process. Is in many of our cases, other providers in the industry have just a set of exams. You have to use whatever they use, and whatever they think is a good question is a good question. And as
Right.
we know, even from our panel that we had a few weeks ago to Aesthetic Next, every state's different. There's very specific nuances, or even things as a provider that you want to know that maybe it's different for you than maybe the guy down the street. So, how important or how often is that used, that customization feature? And when they do that, are there things they should be thinking about or doing? What do you see as best practices for like the number of questions per exam? When is there like provider fatigue or patient fatigue and doing a GFE? At what point is it like, that's too many, cut it in half, let's do a second exam?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see a lot of usage for the good faith evaluations. Ours are extremely comprehensive, and they pretty much encompass. They do vary very slightly from state to state, but overall we try to take the more conservative approach that just puts patient safety above all else. Um, but we do see a lot of customization where people are either mixing evaluations or adding to them. The fatigue, I would say, is around 18 to 19 questions, is most likely the level at which you want to kind of cut it. But we allow you to go all the way up to 26. Um, we do see a lot of pre-screening for other procedures or medications that different medical spas and medical directors have created on their behalf. Some of them are just general, mental health screening, as well as a weight loss is very, very popular, where we're doing the pre-screening to gauge whether or not a patient is eligible for the next step in a weight loss procedure or weight loss program. For the most part, it's a pretty popular choice because many medical spas have their kind of sweet spot of these two services that they provide in one. And so rather than do both separately for two different charges, they kind of just merge them together and send them out. On our end, we're working on a way to have a tiered pricing so that the pricing makes sense when you're sending two or more exams. But for the most part, it's been really popular, this customization feature. I mean, it's one of the better parts of the use case that we're seeing, definitely.
So we had a question asking about, shouldn't it be the qualified provider's judgment? The medical clinic should have a medical director, and they should set those questions. So the person asks, is it just as anonymous? It would be my understanding that in each clinic, a medical director should be overseeing what they require their providers to ascertain about a patient. And so what Noah's team is doing is taking those questions from the medical provider, medical director, and putting those into your GFE. So
Yeah.
they're using their medical judgment as well, but they're using it against the medical judgment of the medical director in that clinic who is deciding what things are important. But I think to Noah's point, patient safety is obviously the number one key. The standard exams are going to be covering that. So if you don't customize anything at all, then yes, Qualifies is going to cover what you need. But if you want to customize, do different things with your exam, then the medical director would hopefully be leading that discussion and that set of questions. So whoever that is, hopefully that answers your question about who is making those decisions. And then Noah, just to reiterate again on the pricing, tell us again one more time what it cost for exam, because I think this is a part that's mind-boggling for us and the reason that we really chose to work with you guys.
Well, yeah, we're firm believers in, if we need to constantly be on our A game and not tied, you're not tied to us unless we're actually providing value, which is why we have no subscription fees. We have no sign-up fees. We have no fees in general other than completed evaluations. Sending them out. If there's a disconnection or anything, albeit rare, no charge. It's simply if a patient is approved or denied, that's when you're charged the $27.99 for a good faith exam that's performed.
Yeah, I think if you're watching this, we're going to go through the AR part of it. If a person's on PTO, on medical leave, or you're just slammed that day in the clinic and there's no MP or MD around or DO to help you do your GFEs, I think it's great for that as well because there are no minimums. So you can use it really plug and play as you need to. And again, not having a monthly fee, not having a minimum amount of exams per month, I think is really important for our offices where, some days you guys are crazy busy, some days you're not, some days it's just out of control, especially going into holiday season. I imagine Q4 will be very, very busy for all of us in aesthetics, but I think the part of it where it is on demand, it is, use as you need, and also just a low cost makes it really affordable. And again, one of the big parts for us of choosing you guys, because we want to keep our costs low for our customers too. But I'm going to walk on over into AR whenever you're ready, and I'll kind of show, based on what you just showed us and how to work things in the Qualify portal, which is basically building all of your exams, looking at your users, who has access, who can do the different things, setting up your clinic locations. Once that's all done and curated and just how you want it, then you take that information and go into AR and you actually plug it in via just a quick little key that you'll get from your Qualify portal, a little API key. And once that's done, you're sort of, you're ready to go, ready to rock and roll. So I'm happy to start that now, Noah, unless you have anything else you want to walk through before I hop on over to AR.
No, please go ahead. That was great. Thank you.
All right, let me get logged in here. I just logged myself out. We'll get my computer brought up. Okay, and I'm going to start off within the web. So for those of you who are, pretty savvy AR users, we can do a lot of things on the web and on the iOS app. I'm going to go through this on the web. It's where you'll do all your settings component. And so I'm going to go ahead and zoom my screen in just a bit so you can see it. It's a little bit small. Hopefully that's going to come through. I'm sure that there might be some blurry issues, but it's rendering on our end pretty high, so hopefully it's coming to you pretty high. But once you go into your system, you're going to go into your dashboard, go to your settings tab, walk over to integrations and go to Qualify, as you see here. If for any reason you have not yet signed up for Qualify, you will see an option here to contact Qualify. You can see how to access your API key. So if you forget what you're doing, it's all here for you. But for us, we've already enrolled our clinic, so you see it down here. But all you would do is take the API key that you're given from the Qualify dashboard, put it into here. So you have like your lots of numbers here and letters. These are the crazy amount of numbers and letters. You would choose your clinic here, hit enroll, and then all of a sudden that clinic is enrolled. What that means for you is that once it's enrolled, as you do things in the system, that clinic's name is on it. So if you're a location that has 15 different clinics underneath your purview, or you have 6 locations under one clinic or one account name, it's going to separate them out for you by clinic based on the provider who is actually doing the GFE request, wherever they're working at in that day with that patient's appointment. So it's going to kind of delineate that out for you. But we only have one in our system that's going to be set up, which is Lovelier Lines. So once that's done, you're basically free to roam. So if there's any issues with that part of it and getting it set up, please let us know. This is available for all accounts, for Accelerator, I believe, and also our regular Essentials plan. So you should all have an option for it. Make sure you toggle it on. And then once that's done, I'm going to go through a couple different places that you can actually request an exam. So the first one is, and my screen is a little bit crazy because I'm all zoomed in, is if a patient comes in and they are making an appointment with you and you want to go ahead and do it, they're on the phone calling in and you realize they're a brand new patient, you want to go ahead and book them for, let's say, a Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, Daxi, Jeuveau appointment. If you're in your appointments tab, and you're going to go ahead and create your appointment here, we're going to use our friend, let's use Harris. I'm going to go ahead and do my whole appointment. It's like normal. Let's do some filler. We'll waive our fee here. And let's do our friend Anastasia, our favorite patient at Aesthetic Record. And once we get down here and you go through the appointment part, we'll go ahead and confirm that we're not going to do cancellation policy. And I'm going to not send any notifications. And then once I get to this screen, for everyone who has Qualiphy turned on in their system, you will always have this prompt during the appointment setting part from the web. So if I say, yes, I want to send to Qualiphy, again, my clinic is defaulted to Lovelier Lines. That's what I have connected to my system. I'm going to choose in here Botox and Dysport because she's coming in for a toxin treatment. Actually, you know what? Let me change that because I just did one for that. It's going to give me a little bit of an error. Let's do Botox. So I'm going to do Botox, hit create. At that point, it's now requested inside of Anastasia's patient profile. Immediately, that request goes over to Noah's team at Qualiphy. The providers are there, again, standing by. We're able to, the patient gets an email on her phone. It says, you've been invited to do a Qualiphy pre-screening GFE exam. She clicks on the button, and then voila, we're in a telehealth portal between Anastasia and the Qualiphy provider to actually do the GFE. And again, they're using whatever exam you've designated, either one that you personally created or one that you're using that Qualiphy is provided for you. And in that moment, they're able to do the whole GFE process and send it over back to AR and finalize it. So what does that look like in real life? Let's go to her tab and let's see it. So I'm going to go to her, oopsie, I can't really see here with this crazy zoom going on here. See if I can zoom out just a second. There we go. Let me get to her profile here. Okay, so I've done a few things today. She's been really active with her GFEs today. But when I just did it just now, what came through was a request. So you see here, Qualiphy exam requested on this date by the provider, me, Margot Parker, at my clinic, Lovelier Lines, and the status is requested. So right now I see that I've requested a Botox GFE for her. We're in a requested status. Now let's say that Anastasia is actually in my clinic right now with me instead. I can hit join meeting and we can do an actual live visit where I'm with her in the chair and we have the provider on the other end of the call from Qualiphy doing the GFE. So if I want to be in the room with her, we're talking about it all three of us together. I can join this from the web or the iPad, or the patient can do it from her phone, obviously, if she's in the clinic, but I can do it from AR in this instance. So you'll see the little join meeting button right there. However, if I've done this ahead of time and she's at her house doing it, then she's going to call on her own, do her entire GFE process, and when that's finished, it will come through to AR and look like this. So you see here on the second one, I did the same thing earlier today, requested one for Anastasia. It was requested and completed. I can see who did it. So we're using some testing people, so ignore the names. It would have the provider's name here. We have our location. Here's the actual paperwork that we have completed. We have the little check mark, and then it's been approved. So you have three choices here. It could be approved, which is going to be your green check mark. It could be denied, which is going to be your little red X if it's denied, or an NA, which means basically the call dropped, some technology issue happened, and we couldn't get a hold of the patient to get her back on the call. So in that case, it's just an NA because it's not applicable here. So if we have this completed exam, we can actually click on it, and we can see now, this is also going to be inside of the document repository, the entire exam here filled out by the provider at Qualiphy, all of our questions here, any additional notes that we need, all here together, including at the end here, the license number. So that's important if you have like a medical board inquiry of some sort. So that's all going to be stored inside of AR, but easily for you to click right here on the timeline. So if you're thinking to yourself, this is going to be, I'm 9 months from this date, it's a long way away from now. I'm looking at the same patient like, what did her GFE say again? I can't remember what it said. You're going to go to your repository here under more info and get my little mouse to work. Come on, mouse. It's because I have my darn Zoom going again. Hold on. Here we go. More info, documents. And then once I'm in here, I can always just search by Qualiphy. So they always have the name Qualiphy on them. So if you want to just search by name, you could search Qualiphy, hit enter, and it would pull up your Qualiphy exams. So you see it here in our case. We can look at the exam. We have an option to view it, edit it, or delete it. So it's always going to be stored for you inside of their document repository, and also in a sense as a chart because it is an encounter. So you have both options here. And again, it will stay in requested state until she actually finishes it out and she has it done, and then it'll come over to us and say it's been completed. So I'll see if we have any questions here. Actually, let me keep going, and then I'll stop whenever I go through the next part of it, just so you can see kind of the whole breadth of what it can do. So that's one way, right? So at the appointments tab, I'm going to book the patient in and do this all at the same time. One thing to note is you have to have their birthday. So if for some reason they're a brand new patient coming in and calling for the first time ever, or they've gone online and they've booked and it's like immediately you see it and you want to pop over and go ahead and hit the button, the birthday is required. So now in the patient portal, we also have a requirement for the birthday that they have to put the birthday in when they do their patient portal sign up. So you should have that if they're an existing patient. If they're brand new on the phone, again, ask them the birthday in the moment as you do it so that we have that. But let's say that in a different world that we've had Anastasia go online and book. So she's booked her appointment by herself. We don't know who she is. She's just, a booked visit. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like as well. So we're going to go into Appointments tab. And I'm going to look at, I believe she's on Kristen's schedule right here. And we have for her, let's see, maybe she's next week. Thought I had it handy here. Okay, right here. So we see Anastasia is on the schedule here for next week. And in this case, we have not yet requested it because she went online and she booked. She's a brand new baby to our practice. We don't know who she is. If I'm looking at this on the iPad calendar or on the web calendar, if it has not been requested at all, it's going to look blue right here. So I'm able to go in now, if I want to go ahead and request that for her. Let's say she's going to come in and get cold sculpting and request my qualified GFE. I'm in the right clinic here. I go through and say, well, she's going to get cold sculpting. I should go ahead and pick that one. Once I do that, I'll hit create. And then again, the exact same process happens. It just happened before, where now I have it in her patient timeline waiting for the request to turn into a completion. But you see here it's gray. So once I've requested it, it will turn gray. And once she has actually finished it, it will turn green and say qualify, I think it says completed exam. So you'll be able to check as you go through the patient's process if they've been requested or if they've been completed by looking at just their appointment card here, either on the iOS app or on the web-based portal. So it's just a nice way to kind of track it as you go. So that's exam request option number 2. So first one is we're going to request it via the appointments tab. Second one, we're going to request it via the actual appointment card on the web or iOS. Number 3 is she came into our office today and we are with her in the chair and she decides that, she's never done, as I keep having to zoom in and out, she's never done lip filler before. She's brand new to lip filler. And she says, I think I want to do it today. And I'm like, I'm an RN, need to get that approved, right? Can't do it. So if I'm in the moment, in the actual encounter with the patient, I can go to my create procedure. And now I have a new option called Qualify. And I can do the exact same process again. Hit lovelier lines. We're going to do, let's see if we've got some Versa in here. My favorite lip product, Versa Plus here. Let's do create. And then now again, the exact same process takes hold. We have it here. And in this moment, for example, I would definitely join the meeting together. So we do this request, we get the join meeting button pops up. As we're all together in one room, let's just hit the join meeting and do it all together. Now, if she's going to be in the waiting room and she's going to numb on her own, like come back and go numb for 30 minutes or whatever it is that you have to do because you're busy and double booked, she can do it on her own inside of the room by herself while she's numbing. Or again, you can do it all together in the room just by hitting the join meeting button. And so I'm not sure if any of these will get approved while we're on our call here, but for the patient, it's very seamless. And I don't know, Noah, you can probably speak to some of that on the patient experience, the actual part of it where they do the telehealth visit. I mean, really, if I could show you guys my phone, I probably can't from here, but it's an email that has a button, you click it, and then you are literally, just like the AR telehealth portal, if you guys have used that, you're in the telehealth visit, just kind of like we are right now together, and you start your exam. And it's pretty easy, but I'll let you kind of go through. They need a certain device. Is it going to be a certain, Wi-Fi, or what do they have to have as a patient to get this visit done?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's super fast. I mean, the entire purpose of this is for it to work across all devices or as many devices as possible. You do need a good internet connection. Regular Wi-Fi is perfect. Even no Wi-Fi with just good reception will work just fine. Um, I want to stress the significant the efficiency of how fast it is. From sending an evaluation or clicking connect now, you're connected with a provider within 10 to 20 seconds, and the whole screening process takes anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes, you should have your GFE PDF back within the aesthetic record portal, and you're good to go. It's really instant and direct. We also have, I saw in the comments, some people were asking about different states. On our website, qualify.me, at the top, there is the state schedule. And you can see the 40 states that we currently are operating in. We're working towards all 50, and we're launching live with aesthetic record across these 40 within the next, I think, about 10 to 15 days.
Yeah, we had a question come through about, can you clear multiple services at one time? It depends on your GFE, right? So if you have like a blanket GFE that does all injectables, that includes, Sculptra, that includes your toxin, that could be a PRP, an easy gel. Like it just kind of depends on how your GFE is set up. If you do all body contouring together, you do all the energy devices together. So the way that services are rendered in clinics today, it's so different. What we call them, how they're cleared. I think it really depends on you. But you can clear as many as you want. I mean, I think you can have lots of exams. And I've requested in some cases 3. I think again the fatigue does matter. If a patient has to be on a call for 20 minutes to do all the exam questions, you probably have way too long of exams with a lot of redundancy. So I would, in that case, shrink them down a bit, take out the questions that are redundant, and then make it a little bit more feasible for the patient. We have a question here about legal compliance. I'm going to first of all say I'm not an attorney, nor is Noah. I'd refer that you or recommend you go to your actual attorney and go through the legal compliance component of this. But I would venture to say that in many cases, a good faith exam does not justify how you treat a patient as far as like your injectable. If you have an occlusion, that has nothing to do with the GFE. If you have an adverse event in the moment, that's not a GFE issue. The patient's cleared medically for a procedure based on whatever the criteria is, then that's sort of a separate thing than the procedure going awry and having, they got burned during a laser. So I think that there's, legally I would definitely consult your attorney and make sure that you know how that works. But, as a medical provider doing a GFE, just like it would be in your practice, it's just that they happen to sit somewhere else. So I think it's the same legal compliance issue there. I don't know if you can speak to that at all, the legal compliance part of it.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said, right? We do the medical clearance based on contraindications, medical history, supplements, diet, many different things. And the difference between what happens in the chair by the provider actually doing the administration is different than the medical clearance. But again, I'm also not a lawyer. I do see that a couple of questions about the amount of evaluations that you can do. You can do as many as you would like. Each evaluation that you select is its own charge. We're working on a tiered pricing model. And we also give you the option to, like I showed you before, to create your own GFE, which can kind of blend a few different procedure types that you're going to be doing over and over, and be able to just kind of, blend them into one easy, good faith evaluation.
Yeah, and I want to show, I'm going to pop over to my computer again. I do have in one of our testing environments examples of the other exams when they are not approved. You can kind of see how that looks if it's an NA or a decline. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that open just so you guys can see it real quick here. Let me get into a patient that has it. Give me just 1 second here. And we had a question though about IV hydration. I'm assuming that is definitely one that you can certainly do.
Yeah, that's a super.
We had an actual discussion about on panel about it that potentially saved someone's life because they were going to do an IV and did not need to do an IV. So you can give us kind of how that works too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of IV good faith evaluations. But yeah, I mean on that panel, that was sometimes patients don't know what they have, and right before a few days before the panel, actually, a patient that actually a medical spa had a patient that said that they didn't have congestive heart failure, and it turned out that they were on medications that did. Our provider questioned it, and he said, everything was been cleared. It was been cleared by his cardiologist. Our provider got our clinical director on the line, who then called the patient, said, "Get me on the phone with your cardiologist." He said they're busy. It was a whole story. I'm not going to get into it now. Finally, we get the cardiologist on the line, and the cardiologist said, "Absolutely not. I did say that you're dehydrated, but I never said to go get an IV. You're not cleared for an IV." So it was kind of a scary situation, and obviously we don't love to deny. Nobody likes to deny. Everybody that comes into that chair is there voluntarily, and we're aware of that. But at the same time, our job is to be patient first and safety first before anything else. And so when we do deny, there's always just cause, and there's investigation behind it.
Well, I think it's important to know that too. If you're a person who asks about the compliance and the legal issues, is you guys take the next step and actually do the follow-up. You also mentioned an oncology patient that had, you guys had called the oncologist who said, they can't have it. I think that's part of it. Is in many cases, services are just checking the box, like take their fee, say they're cleared and not doing or saying just no. the fact that you guys are calling to just make sure, double check, because it is revenue, right? It is a patient now being told they can't purchase a service, which impacts the clinic. So taking the extra step to really find out that it's an actual legit denial, I think is important. But I want to show a couple things that are on here that may trip you up if you're doing this frequently. So if we can hop over to my screen, JT, I'm going to show you guys an option for when it expires. So there's a certain amount of time once you send the exam out that it will expire and you have to start over. And really it's just because it just clogs up, I guess, the system. So, if the patient has not taken advantage of their exam, gotten it done, again, you'll be able to see that and track it inside of their system, that it's been requested. It will actually expire. So you see here on our list, it says, resend or delete. If for some reason a patient has lots of expired requests, you can go in and delete them all off their chart so that it's not like this long list of expired GFEs, or resend it. So if I hit resend, it would go out to the patient again to try again. You see here now it's been re-requested. I have a join meeting option. So it just kind of kicks over the timeline and starts all over again. And I believe it's 30 days, if I'm correct. No, is it right? 30, yeah, so 30 days is the expiration. So 30 calendar days. If I request it today, then on October 21st, we're going to have to re-request it again and resend it to get it to work. So the next thing I want to show you is some various ways that they're either denied, approved, etc. And I think I have a person, let's see here, that has a few denials. Let me look at my list here. Let me find out who I've got. So sorry, I thought Anastasia had some denials, but I think she does not. I think I have someone who does, though. Give me 1 second. Maybe it's this guy. Does he have some? Well, I will find it and I'll let you guys know. I've got a patient inside of this portal somewhere that has some denials. I'm just got to figure out who that person is. But let me look at that real quick and I will let you know. Give me just two shakes here and I will be able to tell you. 1 second.
Yeah, and I can speak a little bit to some denials. So denials typically, immunocompromisation, pregnancy deficiencies, etc., for depending on the procedure type. But a lot of the times it'll be up to the primary care physician or the medical director. We will say, patient is not medically cleared for, X, Y, and Z, but there are different levels of denial. There's outright denial due to allergy, which is I don't think anybody would ever overturn, but at the same time we don't have their primary care does have 5 years of their medical history, and so if they're used to getting Botox and they are on a certain medication, they can tell us that they are, but at the end of the day it's their primary care that knows how long the medication has been with them for, and that they can verify that there has been Botox or whatever treatment has been done. So at that moment, it would be denied, and there would be the reasoning behind it, and contingent on approval from another.
Yeah, I'm still going over here, but I think I've got what I need. So give me 1 more second. I want to see if anything, just how it looks. We can show that. I am almost there. That's what I get for using a testing account. Okay, let me see.
I can answer some of the questions in the meantime.
Yes, please do.
Is GFE good for a year, the same as others? The GFE standard is typically a year unless the patient's medical history has changed. It also depends on procedure and state laws. And by procedure, I mean your medical director's protocol. So typically, I would say, for the most part, neuromodulators about a year. IV, I can only speak to some states. I don't know all of them. I'm not a lawyer, but I think California is about 6 months, unless you're adding additional ingredients or certain ingredients. But for the most part, it's about a year, or if the medical history has changed. Can we do different GFEs for the same clinic? I'm not sure what the question means, but I think you mean, can we select multiple evaluations? You can. It would be for the same patient from the same clinic. I recommend doing them individually unless you're constantly merging them together, and then at that point you can use even our evaluation to kind of condense them into a single evaluation, or your medical director can, rather.
Yeah, I think we had a question as well about group events. I think Alan asked it. No matter if it's a group event or not, you have to still do the GFE per person, and so I think there's a HIPAA concern probably there if I'm going to divulge all my medical history to a provider over a GFE. I'd want to do that probably in private. So I think even in a group event, you're going to have to still do a GFE per person to be on a file to clear them for that. So maybe that answers that question. I think, too, for those of you who are thinking about AR and like the timing, we are launching, it's not in here yet, but I promise it is coming, a 1-year countdown so that you'll be able to see like on day 30, 30 days till expiration that the patient has like a flag saying that the GFE will expire in 30 days. And then whenever it actually expires, like a little red notation that will tell you that it has expired on file. So if they have like 8 of them on file, it's going to be hard to figure out which one it is, but you'll be able to see in the document repository that it's obviously blocked, and then also inside of their patient timeline. So that'll be in there very, very soon. We'll be able to show that to you so you can see that it's going to be expired. So, okay, I'm going to show you one last thing that's important for us is the actual reporting part of this. I'm going to go back to a real account here. And again, I can't find a person who has all the expirations, but basically this little green thing here shows a different thing. And if for any reason there is an issue with it, so let's say the email address had bounced, we couldn't get a hold of the patient, like it's not a real email address. One thing that you have to know is to make sure you have real email addresses. I can't stress that enough. Primarily for patient portal information, questionnaires, consents, I mean, all the things, but also for this because it does come to them via email. So if there's an issue where the email does not work, there's a problem for us even getting it to qualify. Let's say there's some like outage, who knows what it could be. You'll have a little warning triangle letting you know that there was an issue to resend it again so that you don't think it's there and it's not really there. But as I go through here and I'm thinking about paying for these exams, who's completed it, what's going on, I can actually keep track of that in the system as well. I'm going to go to Business Insights and I'm going to go to my Patients tab. And I'll see here a static report, which means basically it's not really dynamic. It's the same patients throughout the month, every month. Whoever gets an exam requested. So I'm going to click on that. I'll look at just for this month alone. So I see here that Anastasia, our friend Anastasia, has 3 different exams approved. So she'll have a fee for each of those 3 exams. So it will tell you not just by the patient name, but by the actual exam that was requested. So in her case, again, it was all one appointment, but she had 3 different exams that were approved. So you'll see that all here. So if you want to keep like a running track of your monthly fee and where you are with that, it'll all be here for you to look at. So just want to show you guys that. And then again, all the payment for this, all the money and the logistics of that all goes to the Qualiphy portal. We are just arming you with a way to do it pretty easily. I think one thing I would say is if you have a question about how Qualiphy itself is working, you can certainly chat us at our live chat. We just can't answer the questions. We might refer you back out to Noah's team. They have a really good FAQ part on the website. If you go to the Qualify Me website, you'll see a good little FAQ section there. We can help with any of your connection issues that you have with the API key. If it's not sending the exam correctly or you have an issue with the patient and it's not coming back through showing completed and you know it's completed, you can always check in the Qualify portal as well, but we can help with those things. But I will tell you if it's about a GFE or a legal compliance issue or a question or provider, don't call me if you don't know the answer. Definitely check with Noah on that one.
Yeah. You can always go to qualify.me and click the schedule demo or give us a call and we'll answer right away, or you can schedule a demo for any questions that you may have. Yeah, in the meantime, I'm happy to go through some of the questions that some of the participants may have. If a client does the GFE at home, will they get billed at that time? The billing will happen immediately on the spot the moment a GFE is completed. But it's not the patient that gets billed, it's the medical spa, the card on file that gets charged. The next question is, one client gets charged 3 times. Yes, if you send 3 different evaluations, it's 3 different charges.
But again, not the client, the medical spa.
Right.
There's confusion. If you guys are thinking about this as a patient getting billed, this is part of the cost that the practice is going to bear because they'd have to pay an MP or an MD to do it anyway, right? As we all know. So this is getting billed to you. So if you want to build it into your exam fee, your consultation fee, your procedure fee, whatever it is, it's probably pennies, as a percentage of many of these very expensive procedures. So it's going to the practice, not to the patient. So don't be worried about the patient getting a bill. Like, who's qualified? It's coming to you, not to them. Hopefully that clears that up.
Yep. And so the clinic is charged. Semaglutide, big question that we're asked constantly. We are working on our semaglutide screening and capability on our end, meaning the templated one that will be across as many states as possible. It's very different from state to state. As far as semaglutide, the pre-screening or the screening rather for it that your medical director approves of regarding, health history, et cetera, we can screen for. However, we can't be the ones to write the order, send it to the pharmacy, do that on your behalf just yet. Once we finish our own protocol, that's when we'll be able to move forward with actually prescribing it. And
I have,
then
I have a quick question too. I see the one for HRT coming up, the hormone therapy. Whoever's, I don't know who's even asking that, but that has to do with labs and you have to look at blood work and like prescribe an actual amount. That's not a GFE. So the hormone therapy to me is a whole different animal that requires like an actual provider to look at all their levels and decide if it's pellets, if it's, shots, if it's cream. So that's, I think, a different thing than you wouldn't do a GFE for that. You'd have an actual like medical visit and do all the medical components for that. So I could be totally wrong. Again, not a provider, not an attorney, but it seems like a very different thing than just a medical clearance.
yeah, and also, yeah, so the semaglutide and all of these different types of screenings. I mean, we have screenings for everything. Anything that seems a little bit soft, meaning not as comprehensive, we'll we'll let you guys know. Additionally, somebody was asking about Spanish-speaking patients. We don't have the ability to just to choose your routing to a Spanish-speaking provider, but we do have a lot of providers. A lot of them are multilingual, but there's no way. It's kind of luck of the draw, and hopefully you land on somebody you can communicate with other than English. And then the weight loss and semaglutide question again that came up, and the answer is we're working on ours to be able to develop a protocol that involves a couple different layers and steps.
But if they have their own that they're able to provide to say it's for this, and you're able to at least ask the questions and do the exam.
So we have a few of those. A couple of medical directors have created comprehensive evaluations for our nurse practitioners that are actually most of our nurse practitioners, if not all, are either did work in medical spas and cosmetic and elective procedures, or telehealth providers for weight loss, ED, and all of these different things. Because we're in so many states, most of our providers are multi-state, and a lot of them did that during telehealth during COVID. So they have a lot of experience in this field, and so something they can ask all the right questions and they know what they're asking before clearing. So yes, the short answer is yes. There's no templated version from Qualiphy, but you can create your own for Qualiphy to pre-screen for you.
And one more thing I mentioned too, if you're in a state where the estheticians have to have clearance for things that break the skin, so in some cases microneedling has to have a clearance from a medical director. And if your esthetician's working alone on a Friday at the office and it's not an injection day, again, another great example of time to plug this in and use it. So no one has to come to the office and actually be there to clear patients for the esthetician. So I think there's just a lot of various ways it's useful for you, even if it's not a traditional. I have to have my my RN doesn't have an NP on site. You could be all Qualiphy all day long if you're a practice, or just use it as you need it. So okay, I have the app up. I'm going to show you one more quick thing just so you can get a visual of it. And again, I'm using the iPad or the Mac version of an iPad app, so it looks a little bit different, but very similar to what we looked at before. If I'm on the calendar, which by the way, you're getting a brand new calendar very soon. It's going to be very sexy, by the way. But if you're looking at your patient here, same kind of thing. I could request it from the actual appointment card. Or in our case, we see here the GFE has been sent, so same look and feel as it was before. You cannot request from the appointment inside of the app right now. We are changing that flow very soon to look like the web. And when that happens, you'll be able to do it. So it'll be the exact same web process that you have now, but on the iPad app. So coming soon, but not there yet. But you can also, from the patient's timeline, just like you were doing before, I'm able to ask, or request it from here. Again, same plus button, my Qualiphy exam. So no matter where you are in the system, iPad or web, you can do at least from the patient's profile timeline and also from the appointment card. So hopefully that helps a little bit just to see it on the app. It's there for you to use. So we hope that you use it. And again, you do have a notes option too. So if you wanted to leave notes on this, like let's say that you disagree with their assessment, you say, you know what, I have talked to their cardiologist. I call the cardiologist and got clearance for the patient. Make the note in here just so it's documented somewhere, because you can actually export this like a procedure with all the notes and things attached to it. So if you need to make notes and add things, I'd recommend that you certainly use the notes section here, because they're going to leave their notes on the actual document. It's going to be in their repository and obviously connected here. So hopefully that clears up all of that. And Noah, that's really, we've covered a lot of ground here, my friend.
Yeah.
Lots of things.
I agree. I agree. I guess there's one point that I probably should have shared before. We're open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time nationwide. So, welcome, and I'm excited to be working with everybody here, and hopefully we can keep your patients safe and continue to do good work with Aesthetic Record and all of your clients.
Yeah, I think we have a couple quick questions here on the bottom about the medical director. They can certainly see it. It's not a provider chart, so it doesn't get sent to the MD room like the provider chart would be sent. However, it's going to be in the document repository and on the patient's timeline. So I would get a dot phrase for that. I would make a dot phrase that says, just regardless, if you have a patient that's being treated with a GFE from anyone, get a dot phrase that says the GFE was on this date or cleared by this person, or whatever it is for your dot phrase. So you can just put the dot phrase in for the medical director. You can see, he or she can see the notes on there and just know that it's been done. And then second thing is the patient does not see the results. It's not in their portal. It's not anywhere. It's going to be just in your system, just like it would be a GFE that you would do in the clinic. You wouldn't send it out to the patient either. So they request their medical records for sure. But if it's not a request from the medical record perspective, it's going to be just in AR like it always is, as part of their permanent record. So hopefully that helps. And I had something come through and I couldn't hear it. So I don't know what it was coming from the back room, but something important. I think that's all the questions. If you guys have anything else, let us know. Oh, we have one more here from James about the schedule. The patient will get the email at any point, and it lets them know that they can join at any point. So they are not required to join right then. They have 30 days to join. So the good news is, though, if they have not done it and you're looking at tomorrow's appointments in your system, it's like it's still not been completed, you could certainly use our inbox and SMS the patient, send them an email, call them and say, hey, listen, this is in your email. Can you please get it done before you come in tomorrow? Otherwise, I have to do it when you get here. So if you want to get that done, you can certainly track it and see if it's been finished. I would recommend that anyway if you're sending them out, to just kind of track the progress and say it's not been done, get it done. But we can't, it's requested immediately. So, but again, they can wait. We don't get the provider on the other side of the call until the patient joins the meeting. So they're not sitting there waiting for 30 days for the patient. They don't wait until the button gets hit and the patient actually requests to join a meeting. So I hope that helps a little bit there. But as I said, I'll get this out for you guys on email tomorrow. We'll have it out on YouTube by the morning. And then if you have any other questions, let us know for sure. You'll see some tabs inside the settings part of your AR system. Click on those. It gets you to Noah's team. It gets you to the GFE FAQ area, and also to the referral site to actually get signed up and get your demo done. So with that, any last words, Noah, before you jump off?
Not too much. Just a big thank you for everybody that participated and that is watching this. If you have any questions, of course, please reach out to us, Qualiphy.me. We're very accessible, and we're here to make everything work seamlessly. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to work with you, Tiffany, of course, and the entire Aesthetic Record team. So thank you. Thank you.
And keep tabs on the What's New button inside of AR, because you'll see the new states as we've been bringing them on. We've been putting in the What's New button. So look at that on the regular if you want to. You'll see new features, but also all the states that are being onboarded. And we'll also send an email that lets you know if your state's onboarded at some point too. So with that, we will wish you guys all a good night, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Thanks.